On this episode of In the Fight, U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan Ryan Crocker meets with soldiers in Kandahar. Colorado airmen help deliver an important artifact that reminds us to never forget. Soldiers compare the Iraq of the past to the Iraq of today. Afghan security forces prosper in Laghman province. And a Marine receives the highest military decoration. Divids presents In the Fight. The newly appointed U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan, Ryan Crocker, recently met with soldiers at Camp Nathan Smith to discuss the importance of the role Kandahar plays in the future of Afghanistan. Army Staff Sergeant Walter Tallons brings us this story.
Members of the Kandahar Provincial Reconstruction Team, or KPRT, received a surprise visit from U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan Ryan Crocker this morning. This marks Ambassador Crocker's first visit to Kandahar since taking the oath of office on July 25th this year. Ambassador Crocker discusses why he decided to visit Kandahar.
Kandahar, along with Helmand, has been a focus of our military surge. I think we now have conditions that are going to allow our civilian elements and military partners to proceed with the very important work of economic development, support for governance, rule of law, all of the things that make a functioning democracy.
Before departing, the ambassador included his personal reason for the visit.
You know, what happens in Kandahar in the months ahead is going to affect what happens in the whole nation. So I wanted to get on down here and get eyes on for myself.
The ambassador also said he's glad to be working again with U.S. Marine Corps General John Allen, who succeeded Army General Petraeus in July. Reporting from Camp Nathan Smith, I'm U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Walter Tallons.
The Panjshir district in Afghanistan is one of the more peaceful provinces in the country and has become a candidate for Afghan security forces taking the lead. NATO Channel correspondent Ruth Owen shows us how they are ready for this challenge.
In March this year, the lush valleys of Panjshir province were chosen for transition, a process which will see Afghan security forces take over from ISAF. While other provinces have voiced their worries about ISAF soldiers leaving, the feeling in Panjshir is positive when it comes to security.
بودن نیروهای آمریکایی در حال حاضر در پنجشیر نه تاثیر مثبت داشته نه تاثیر منفی. به خاطر اینکه مردم دوش با پلیس همکار هستند، با ارگان‌های امنیتی همکار هستند، میتونن که امنیت پنجشیر، امنیت خود مردم خودشون بگیرن.
Panjshir has always been a prime candidate for transition. The only province never taken by the Taliban was home to national hero Ahmed Shah Massoud, whose tomb in Panjshir is still a popular destination for visitors. His legacy has meant the people have kept close relations with the security forces.
پلیس خب شجاع احساس خستگی نه با هم چیزی که آمریکایی باشه یا نباشه فقط پلیس از خاک خود وطن خود ناموس خود دفاع میکنه.
The police force is still relatively small, and with neighbouring provinces like Kapisa and Nuristan suffering from insurgent activity, the fear is when the province is handed over completely to the Afghans, their borders will be at risk.
با 4 ولایت نام ما مرز داریم، مرز مشترک. دیگه ما کدام گپ خاصی نداریم، صرف یگانه گپ مایی است که وزارت امور داخله دیگه یک تجدید نظر در تشکیلات پلیس بکنه. ما بتونیم مرزایی که داریم با 4 ولایت نام مرزهای خود بسته کنیم که نگذاریم دشمنان افغانستان از این مرزها استفاده سوء کنن و بیان نمایت‌های ما را اینجا کدام ضربه بزنن.
And although Panjshir's reputation for being peaceful has led to a lower ISAF presence, 2 soldiers were recently killed by an Afghan security force member visiting Panjshir. In a separate incident, an Italian tourist was killed after an altercation with a local led to guns being drawn. Neither of these incidents, however, had anything to do with insurgent activity, which the local police say is thanks to their good relationship with the people and their strict enforcement of roadblocks.
کل پستتون تن از کنه کل شده ثبت راست به خاطر میشه که بعض مردمایی که بخواد نظم اخلال کنه به خاطر راجستر میکنیم که تا 5 نفر تیر نشه.
Confidence of the police in taking full responsibility for Panjshir's security is heartening in a country whose security forces are still developing. But with challenges inside and outside the province still present, Panjshir's transition process still has room to grow. This is Ruth Owen in Afghanistan for the NATO channel.
This month marks the 10th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, a day that changed the lives of every American. 10 years later, artifacts from Ground Zero are making their way to various cities around the country. Air Force Staff Sergeant Michael Williams brings us this story.
As the 10th year anniversary of the September 11th attacks draws near, Americans are compelled to reflect on the tragic events of that day. For military members at Buckley Air Force Base, that reflection has manifested itself in a more tangible form.
Back when September 11th happened, all I can remember is a bunch of people wanted to go to New York to actually pay respects to Ground Zero. Having it come to us it's an honor, and just to know that the families who never got remains, that this is all that's left that represents them, it weighs heavy on your heart knowing that this is all that they have left.
All that they have left is under watchful sentry at Buckley Air Force Base until they reach their final resting place.
As the state of Colorado officially receives the World Trade Center artifacts, which will remain here in Colorado, the state that we all enjoy, as a remembrance to the lives lost on September 11th. We see those relics behind me, relics of an evil that was perpetrated against us, that are emboldened in this steel.
Respecting and remembering that history is not lost on Sergeant Mejia.
There's a lot of families that were touched by this throughout the whole world, and just to come out and have the opportunity to see something like this and get as close as you are, because the people that were closer than what we are today aren't here today.
Staff Sergeant Michael Williams, Buckley Air Force Base, Colorado.
Hi, my name is Gunnery Sergeant Tracy D. Nicholson, and I'm currently in Afghanistan. I am from Newport News, Virginia, and I would like to give a shout out to my family in Virginia, as well as my family and friends at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Thank you all for all of your support. Take care. God bless you.
Hi, this is Major Kevin Toner saying hello from Kandahar City, Afghanistan. I'm with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division, stationed out of Fort Carson. I want to say hello and thank you to all my friends and family in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. Take care.
Coming up, soldiers compare the Iraq of the past to the Iraq of today. And an air mobility team makes sure that service members receive much-needed supplies. Check out DividsHub.net for the latest accurate and reliable information as In the Fight continues. What does the military nickname GI stand for? The answer when we return.
I want to give a shout out to my family and friends.
I want to send a shout out to my husband,
to my parents, my family back home.
I'd like to give a shout out to my girlfriend.
To my family and friends in Lansing, Michigan.
To my family out in Tucson, Arizona.
My beautiful wife and children in Des Moines, Iowa.
To everybody in Texas.
In York, Pennsylvania.
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Chicago, Illinois.
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Orlando, Florida.
Oceanside, California.
And Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
I love you guys. I miss you. And I hope I'll see you soon.
With the new Military 24/7 app from Divots, you turn your favorite mobile device into a window to the front lines. Connect with your nation's finest men and women through our video and photography archives, and stay up to date with news reported directly from service members. Quickly share information and breaking stories with friends via Facebook, Twitter, or email. News, photos, video. Your military 24/7.
What does the military nickname GI stand for? The answer is C, government issue. Thousands of soldiers have redeployed to Iraq over the last 8 years, and for most, the changes seem unreal. Soldiers radio and television correspondent Gail McCabe met up with troops who compare the Iraq of the past with the Iraq of today.
Steady, single shot.
Tristan Fagan says Iraq is really different this time around. Just about everything, he says, is not what it was, especially the mission.
Yeah, I will say this is definitely a big change from last deployment. Last deployment, there was a lot of, there was plenty of violence, lots of what we call TST missions, HVT missions, raids. Very different tempo this time around.
23-year-old Fagan is a sergeant with B Company, 3rd of the 15th Infantry Regiment, the Scout Platoon.
Good.
They're part of a stability transition team, partnered with soldiers of the 1st Iraqi Army, Iraqi Commando Battalion. The idea is to get the Iraqis to the point where they can train themselves.
A kind of train the trainer type of deal, so if they can do that well, I think it has the potential to spread throughout the rest of the Iraqi Army as much as possible.
The training area is western Iraq, Al-Anbar province, Iraqi territory that's part of the Sunni Triangle. Fallujah still resonates with military action, but the difference is huge.
Muzzle down.
Oh yes, a great amount of changes. Every time you come back, it's like going to a different country.
The instruction cycles 20 to 30 Iraqi soldiers every month, incorporates classroom, rock drills, live fire.
Make sure that they're aiming correctly.
Everything they need to become a strike force.
Contact front, let's go, surprise.
Capable of protecting their nation. For Fagan, it's definitely different this time around. Better.
Just from last deployment and coming this time, I can definitely see the difference. All right, we ready?
Gail McCabe, Fallujah.
All right, let's do it.
Military transition from ISAF to Afghan forces has already begun in some regions of Afghanistan. NATO channel correspondent Ruth Owen follows NATO senior civilian representative Simon Gass and gets his perspective on the progress of Afghan security forces in Laghman province.
Metalam, Laghman province. The city was one of the first areas to transition to Afghan control. Today, NATO's senior civilian representative Simon Gass pays a visit to see how security, development and governance is progressing in a province that's been used as a thoroughfare for insurgents from neighbouring Nuristan and Kapiso provinces.
Absolutely need to come to places like Laghman, and you need to do it often because, you know, when you sit in Kabul and you're dealing every day with some of the big issues, the big strategic issues about Afghanistan, if you're not careful, you lose touch with what's really happening on the ground. Very good to see you, sir. Very good to see you.
Meeting one of Afghanistan's youngest governors, Mohammad Iqbal Azizi, is one way to assess what's happening on the ground and ask how he's feeling about transition.
I'm very optimistic about transition. I'm very optimistic that it will be a very successful and smooth transition. It gives confidence to the Afghan administration and the people of Laghman that eventually Afghan government and Afghan administration is able to provide effective services to the people.
Now that doesn't mean that there won't be security incidents. There may be, as there have been in other parts of the country. But what it shows is that the Afghan security forces will be able to deal with those security incidents.
A spate of political assassinations around the country, including the mayor of Kandahar and top police commander General Dawood Dawood, suggests the insurgents have changed tactics, meaning that working for the Afghan government has become an even more serious undertaking.
Now, the political assassinations, they are damaging, there's no doubt about it, and they do have an effect. Nevertheless, I sense real determination amongst the Afghan partners I work with to rise above this and to keep on moving forward. And let's not forget the huge courage of many of these Afghan leaders who know that they could be targets of assassination, but who nevertheless carry on day in, day out, trying to do something for their country.
Ruth Owen in Afghanistan for the NATO channel.
As military forces press further into isolated areas throughout Afghanistan, supplying troops is mission critical. With a higher ops tempo for airdrops comes a greater need to have someone on the ground to make sure things go smoothly. Air Force Staff Sergeant Josie Anderson brings us this story.
U.S. forces of Regional Command South conduct security advisory operations in Adgar Province, Afghanistan. Their mission is to equip the Afghan Border Police, or ABP, with the skills to maintain stability along the border shared with Pakistan. Due to high insurgency activity, supplies are hard to get by land, so airdrops are the next best thing. Here, you can't just drop and go. Someone must first survey the area, and U.S. Air Force Air Mobility Officers, or AMLOs, are up to the task.
Well, first thing we did is we had to get some eyeballs on the ground and see what terrain looks like, because the biggest thing is having a recoverable area for the drop zone. Once we find a good spot, then we'll go out there and make sure the locals don't have anything, such as today. Once we got out there, the Afghani Border Police were telling us they often get ambushed over at that site. So we went over to the other side where they won't have to worry about any ambushes.
With the assistance of the APP, AMLOs are able to provide information to the air crews so they can safely conduct the supply drop.
There's a lot of good satisfaction in the fact that you know that a lot of times you're going to be able to help these guys get their food, get their gas, to finish the mission, to be able to get home without getting blown up on the way down there.
AMLOs identify issues on the ground before a crisis can occur, and getting supplies ensures the APP that U.S. forces can move forward no matter where they are. Reporting for AFCENT News, I'm Staff Sergeant Josie Anderson.
Soldiers and airmen were thrilled when a well-known illusionist and a famous basketball player visited Sather Air Base in Iraq. Air Force Master Sergeant Gene Taylor shows us there were plenty of smiles to go around.
NBA Hall of Famer Karl Malone and illusionist David Blaine were in Baghdad this morning, finishing up a three-country, six-day USO tour, lifting the spirits of American service members.
We came here to do magic to all the troops, and it's been pretty incredible. It's been a lot of amazing stories. I've met lots of incredible people that are dedicated and humble and incredible.
Oh, it blew our minds. We just couldn't believe it. I had picked a 5 card, and the whole time he was shuffling it in with all the other cards, and he always seemed to come up with my card, so that was truly amazing.
I came here because I'm passionate about our military, passionate about what you guys stand for, and you guys have families too. When I played, I had to make sure that family was okay for me to play at my peak performance. So the things that you guys go through is mind-boggling to me, and I don't think enough people know that.
Awesome. Grew up in Utah my whole life, watched him play, and I couldn't believe that somebody would actually want to, not to say that he didn't want to come to Iraq, but he would volunteer to come to Iraq and save everybody. And pretty cool. Can't wait to go home and show my grandma the pictures. She'll be stoked.
Air Force Master Sergeant Gene Taylor, Sather Air Base, Iraq.
Captain Rick Farrell, 2nd Brigade, 4th Infantry Division at Camp Nathan Smith in Kandahar, Afghanistan. I want to say hi to my beautiful wife, Laura, and our new son, Luke, in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I miss you guys and can't wait to see you again.
Staff Sergeant Jim Walker with Bravo Battery 1st of the 148th Field Artillery here in Baghdad, Iraq, from St. Anthony, Idaho. Just want to give a shout out to my wife, Dee, back home. Tell her I love her and I'll be home soon, I promise.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Danielle Breitbart. I am with Charlie 489 Civil Affairs Company. I am stationed here on Camp Nathan Smith, Afghanistan. This shout out is going to Commerce, Georgia, to my mom and dad. I love you and I miss you and I hope to see you soon.
Coming up, a Marine receives the highest military decoration. And we'll showcase some of the best photos from our service members as In the Fight, presented by Divots, continues. Whose image is on the Purple Heart medal? The answer when we return.
With the new Military 24/7 app from Divots, you turn your favorite mobile device into a window to the front lines. Connect with your nation's finest men and women through our video and photography archives and stay up to date with news reported directly from service members. Quickly share information and breaking stories with friends via Facebook, Twitter, or email. News, photos, video. Your military 24/7.
whose image is on the Purple Heart medal? The answer is C, George Washington. Interacting with local nationals is a major part of the U.S.'s counterinsurgency or COIN strategy. Army Specialist Adam Deneen shows us one unit who is putting this strategy into action.
Soldiers from 1st Battalion, 24th Infantry Regiment teamed up with the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police to search a village off Highway 1 in Zabul Province, Afghanistan. The mission's goal was to gather as much information about the area as possible.
The obvious things we're looking for are any sort of indicators of Taliban presence or possible cache sites. We ask about where possible IEDs are in the area, and then we just want to get really a feel for the people, how they respond to us, how they respond to the ANA and the AMP, and really just gain the atmospherics on the area.
And while they didn't find any weapons during the search, Medeiros says there are other benefits to these types of missions.
It's hard to get tangible results in missions like these because we're certainly not surprising them when we show up. However, it has a very good effect on denying them the ability to freely place IEDs on Highway 1, which is just so key for all of Afghanistan.
Specialist Adam Deneen, Zabul Province, Afghanistan.
Just last month, the White House announced that Dakota Meyer, a 23-year-old Marine Scout sniper from Columbia, Kentucky, who has since left the Marine Corps, will become the first living Marine to be awarded the Medal of Honor in 38 years. We caught up with Dakota in his hometown before the award ceremony to bring you his story.
We went in to do a key leader engagement to go in and meet with the elders of a village called Ganjgal. And there was a group of about 21 Marines in there and 80 Afghans with us. And I was sitting outside of the village with some trucks with another staff sergeant. And they ended up getting hit. And a little ways into it, air support wasn't coming in, so we decided we should go in there and try to help them get out.
Risking his life even when a medical evacuation helicopter wouldn't land because of the blazing gunfire, Meyer charged through enemy machine gun and rocket-propelled grenade fire to help rescue and evacuate his Marine, sailor, and Afghan brothers.
We made 5 trips in there, and when we got in there to find them, they had already been killed.
Dakota's family and friends say they were not surprised that he put his life on the line and ran headlong into a dangerous situation like he did that day.
Dakota is Dakota. I mean, he's a hard worker. You always know where you stand with him. He'll tell you what's on his mind.
He always would dive headfirst into things and think later. And so he was always looking for a challenge, and he always thought of others first.
Every time I'd tell him, I'd say, now, Cole, you take care of yourself. He said, now, Mima, I will, but I have to also take care of my brothers, which he was talking about the other Marines.
He would have been willing to lay down his life. He would have been willing to die for others, to die for the battle, to do what he needed to do for his country.
It's a mixture between training and it's a mixture between just morals, you know. Your brother's in there, and you know, you don't leave anyone behind. And there was no time I ever thought that they would all be dead when I got in there, but you know, it's just how it happened.
Meyer joins a small elite group of heroes, a reality that will often require him to conjure up haunting reminders of the battles he has fought, the friends he has lost, and the painful regret he bears.
You know, you could tell maybe sometimes it may get to him, you know, like, you know, the guys he was with that he, you know, pulled out of there, you know, that was like brothers to him, you know, so kind of respected. You know, it's big and in the media now and a big celebration, but to him, it's a lot more than that.
It's hard, you know, it's hard, but you know, there's nothing that's going to be too hard to keep getting their story out and getting the recognition for the guys that passed that day. It's a great honor to be getting the Medal of Honor. It's not for me, it's for those guys, it's for the Marine Corps, it's for the Marines who are serving, and you know, the Marines that will serve.
DVIDS is a 24/7 operation that provides a timely, accurate, and reliable connection between the media and the military serving worldwide. Through a network of over 200 portable satellite transmitters around the globe and a distribution hub in Atlanta, Georgia, Divots gives you access to the front lines with live and archived broadcast video, still imagery, and print products. Visit our website at divotshub.net and search through our enormous video and photo library. Register on our website to gain complete access to high-definition content, along with breaking news alerts and webcasts from top military officials. For questions or comments about In the Fight or Divots, you can email us at ondemand@divotshub.net or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. As we close, we feature some of the best photos Divots has to offer as we listen to Eddie Horst's composition, Pangea. See you next time, In the Fight.